Hello, everyone. My name is Holly, and I will be the language trainer for this hour. The topic we are going to do is on a segregated society, about the difference between the rich and the poor in England. So, hi, Salvatore. How are you today?
Hi Holly, how are you? Thanks for asking.
Are you on Christmas vacation right now?
No, teacher, I'm working again because I work in a mall and we
Mm-hmm.
open every day.
Uh-huh. Okay. Are you going to be working during the New Year's Day?
Sorry, teacher?
Are you working on New Year's Day?
Yes. After I am going to work in the afternoon and I will work until the last day for the year
Mm-hmm.
and then I came back at work uh, to second day of the year in January.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Awesome. All right. And hi, Song Jung. How are you?
Hello, I'm fine. How are you?
Very good. So are you in where are you in Korea right now?
Yes, I'm in South Korea right now.
South Korea.
Yes.
Okay. What part of South Korea?
Uh, the city name is the name of the city is Daejeon.
Daejeon. Okay. I lived in Busan 20 years ago, and
Oh,
then
really?
yeah, and then 19 years ago I lived in Anyang City, Anyang시, just near Seoul. So
Oh,
so
yes.
yeah, from 94 to 96, so it was a long time ago.
Long
So,
time ago, right? That's a long time ago.
so yeah, excellent. Well, welcome. Welcome.
Yeah, thank
Hello.
you.
Hello, Moham. How are you today?
Hello, I'm fine, thanks. How are you,
Very
Holly?
good. Very good. I like your picture. What is this of? Is this a comic or?
Yeah, it's a comic of me. I've created it using an app. It's called the Bitstrips. It's a Facebook
Uh-huh.
app.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's very similar to me. It's almost me.
okay. Wow, it's similar to I should try something like that. So, Moham, where are you from?
I live in Syria, and I am from Syria.
You're from
I'm
Syria.
planning.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
awesome. Awesome. Well, welcome. Welcome. And welcome again, Alexander. How was your break? Alexander, are you there?
My microphone.
Oh, okay.
It was good, thank you.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, and yeah, I took a break and then Alexander was in my last class and I took an hour break and he did too. I don't think there was any classes scheduled. So anyway, well, welcome everyone. For those of you who are new to me, that would be Songjong and Moham. My name is Holly, and I am actually from Idaho in the United States. And I have actually been teaching English since 1994. I got my start, as I was telling Songjung, in his country, in South Korea, and I taught there for just under 2 years, and then I also taught in Finland for 11 years, and have been teaching online since 2006. So, and I have been back in the States for just over about 5.5 years now, and so I'm finally acclimated to the United States again after being away for so long. So anyway, it's nice to see you all, and today we are going to actually talk about do a reading and a vocabulary exercises and discussion about a topic called a segregated society. So let's go ahead and get started on that. All right. So a segregated society. Does anybody know what that means? Alexander, do you have an idea what a segregated society would mean?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay. Totally fine in my class to say that. Totally fine. Mulham, do you have any idea what a segregated society is?
I think it's something like an equality in a society that has no human rights, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea.
You are absolutely right. It's really, this is talking about the difference in this specific situation. In this article we are going to talk about, it will be the difference between the rich and the poor. So basically, I'll write this down. The gap between the rich and poor has gotten larger. So the gap is the area between them. Segregated. Also, if you guys know anything about American history, they used to have a segregated South, where they had the whites would go through one door, and the black people would go through another door, and that was segregation, where you would separate people based on their race. So you separate people based on their income level or their race or something like that, and that's what a segregated society is people are separated. Okay. All right. So let's look at some some vocabulary words before we read the article. We've got these words, and don't worry if you don't know the words, because you will at the end, and that's why you are here, is to learn these. So we have asset, outskirts, breadline, poverty, household, segregated, inequality, underpaid, inner city, and wealthy. Are there any words here that you do not know, everyone?
Yes,
Oh,
asset teacher.
Asset are the things that you own. For example, for me, one of my assets is my car. So I own a car, so it is an asset. People who own their own home, it is an asset. Your furniture is an asset. Okay. Any other questions?
Is asset can be not just stuff and things, but everything, maybe ability of people.
Usually it is things that you can touch, but assets could be the money in your bank, or if you own stock or something like that. As far as your ability, yeah, that could be considered an asset. Your talents. If you have a special skill, that could be considered an asset.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Okay.
but it's normally when people think of asset, they think of physical items that you own. Good question.
Okay, thank you. Mm-hmm.
Hello, Cornell. How are you today?
Hi, Holland. Hi, everyone. Uh, I'm I'm fine, thank you. Sorry for my late.
Oh, no worries, no worries. Let me introduce you to everyone. So, everyone, this is Cornell from Hungary, and we have Alexander, who you know from Russia, and we have Malham from Syria, and Salvatore, who you know from Italy, and then we have Song Jung from South Korea. And am I saying your name right? Seong Jung?
Oh, yes, but yeah. Or
What is
just call me Jong, the last
Jung?
sound.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
thank
excellent.
you.
Yeah, the EONG is really actually quite hard for Americans. So Jung,
Yes,
okay,
right.
we can do that. So this is Jung from South Korea. And are you new to Verbling, Jung?
Sorry?
Are you new? Have you just started taking classes?
Oh yes, it's really first class to me.
Oh, awesome. Okay. Well, welcome. I hope you have a good class. So, anyway, we are going over just vocabulary words, Cornell. And are there any words here that you guys do not know? So we have asset is physical things that you own, usually things that you own.
Yeah.
Are there any other words?
What does inner city mean?
Okay, inner city. Inner city is a neighborhood, usually in the middle of the city, usually near the center, but it's usually near the center or the downtown area, but it's usually a very poor area.
Very poor. Okay.
Yeah, so it's the poor area that is close. You know, one side is usually very rich and the other side is very poor. So, okay.
Teacher, what is breadline?
Breadline. Okay, this one is actually new to me. When I was looking at this earlier, but it makes a lot of sense. Breadline has to do with poverty, or if people are poor, and if you are at this level, that means that you probably have to go to the government and get help for food. So that's what that means. Okay.
Yeah, is it support from government, financial support?
Many times, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But it isn't completely the financial support. When we use this, you'll see but it has to do with that a person or a family is very poor, that they are at the level of the breadline, where they have to go get help. But it's a new term for me, actually, British English. Okay, any other words?
Inequality.
Okay, inequality has to do with people who are not equal. So in many, even now, in most cultures, men and women are not equal. So there's an inequality between men and women. There's an inequality between the rich and the poor. The rich people can afford to, go on extravagant vacations, where the poor people cannot afford to go on any vacation.
Is it synonym to disparity?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Very good. That's a great word for you to learn. No
I learned
disparity.
a couple days ago that word.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Holly, may I have a question? What is the difference between outskirts and suburb? Or they are the same?
They're not the same. But one of the things that I've learned is there's a difference between British English and American English.
Okay.
Okay. Now, in American English, a suburb is actually a separate city that is on the outside of the city. Where in British English, a suburb is a neighborhood within the city.
Okay.
Okay, where the outskirts are always the outer part of the city. So in American English, a suburb is on the outskirts of the city. Is at the same place. Where British English, it's a neighborhood, if that makes sense. But I had an argument with a British person at one time. Are you sure that's what suburb means in your language? Any other words?
Segregated. Separated or?
Yes. Suburb. Like I was before you arrived, I gave people an example of the segregated South. Back in the 1950s and before, the black people would go to one school. They would ride at the back of the bus. They would go through different doors, and they were segregated. They were separated from everyone else. So
Can I ask, make sure that suburb is outside of the city in the USA, right?
yeah,
It's
in American English, a suburb is actually a separate city that
a
is on
separate
the out.
city outside,
It is,
on the
yeah,
outskirts of the original city, like
yeah,
Texas. In the Wild West, it used to have many suburbs, right?
yes, yeah. For example, every big city has neighborhoods, and then they have other cities that are around it. So those are called suburbs. So
Okay, thanks.
yeah, you're welcome. Okay, and somebody is breathing really heavy. Is it me? So uh, I think you need to move your microphone away from your mouth, Jong. I think you're the one
Oh,
that's breathing really
okay.
heavy. Maybe it could be me. I'm not sure. Okay, let's see if we can do this activity. Let's start out with number one. Alexander, could you try that one?
In a segregated society, people from different classes or races are separated from each other.
Yes. So, all right, it's exactly. Okay, number two. Cornell, can you do that one?
Uh, I am thinking of it.
This one is the hardest one on this list. I had to look at the answer. I couldn't figure it out. So,
I don't know what does occupy stand for.
which word? Oh,
Occupy.
occupy. Okay, occupy. To live. This means, to live. It's basically a blank is a person or group of people who live together, all in the same house.
Household.
Yep.
A household is a person or group of people who occupy one place of living.
Yeah, exactly. All right, number three. Um, Mulham. Can you do that one?
Someone who has a lot of money and possessions is wealthy person is wealthy.
Wealthy, yes. Okay. All right, number four. Salvatore.
A person who lives below the blank line cannot afford to pay for all the resources which she requires to live. Mm, below breadline? No,
Yeah,
poverty.
yeah, poverty line, and poverty, of course, means low. And the reason it isn't breadline because it's very similar, but you can't say breadline. So that would be two
Yeah.
words. So okay, and number five, Joan, can you read that one?
Okay. Blank is a valuable possession that somebody owns. I think it's asset.
Yes,
Asset.
an asset. Perfect. All right. Number six, Alexander.
Uh, if you live below, oh, if you live below the breadline, you are very poor.
Perfect. Okay, and number seven, Cornell.
If you live in the outskirts of a city, you live in the outer areas of the city.
Yes, you're still part of that city though, so you're in the outskirts. But if in American English, if you're in a suburb, you're even further out. So, okay, number eight, Mulholm. Did I say it right? I don't think I did.
It's
Mulholm.
Mulham. No, it's
Mulholm.
it's good. It's good. If you are,
I
if you
get your vowels
are,
mixed up.
You receive little money for the work you do. If you are underpaid, you receive too little money for the work that you do.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Number 9, Salvatore.
When there is blank, there is a lack of opportunity or treatment for everyone. Mm, one moment, please. When there is when there is inequality.
Yes, inequality. Perfect. Okay, and number 10, Joan, could you do that one?
Yes, the inner city is an area around the center of the British city where many poor people, immigrants live.
Okay, excellent. All right. So let's practice some of these words here. First of all, Alexander. Let's see. See if I can think of a question. Are there a lot of people who are living below the poverty line in your country? And
Mhm.
what is your country doing to help them?
Yeah, yes, there are many people who live um, below the bread line. The government, there is a special center where people can go and take and choose, and then that center can help you to find a job.
Mm-hmm.
There is also uh, many volunteers who provides, especially in winter time,
Mm-hmm.
food for poor or homeless.
Okay. Okay. All right. Very good answer. Hello, Araceli. How are you?
Hello,
Welcome.
thank you.
Okay, everyone, this is Araceli from Spain, and Araceli, we have Alexander from Russia, and Cornell from Hungary, then Molham from Syria, Salvatore from Italy, and Jong from Korea, and this is his first class here at Verbling. So, and everyone,
Hello.
and Jong and Molham, I don't know if you know her. This is Araceli from Spain. So, all right, welcome. All
Nice to
right,
meet you.
Welcome, Salim.
so,
Thank you.
all right.
Awesome.
So let's ask somebody else a question. Jong, how about
Yes.
in Korea? What types of programs do they have to help people who are below the breadline or below the poverty line? Is there anything that to help the people who are very poor?
Oh, yes, I heard of some program for them, like supporting the finance to them, like yeah, such as the level of finance. Below such a level of finance, we provide something, yeah, money to them.
Okay.
Mm.
So if they receive below a certain amount of money, then the government will supplement and give them more money so that they can be at the right amount, right level.
Yes.
Okay, that's nice. That's really good. How about in Spain, Araceli? For people who are below the poverty line or below the bread line, um, are there programs that Spain has to help them?
Yes, I think there are many social aids for people in different situations, but well, recently they have cut this kind of aids because of the crisis, but there are still aids for people. Social services will help people, for example, with little children who has no income.
Mm-hmm.
Or yes, this, or for example, recently when a person has ended his when you're unemployed, you can have a rent for 2 years while you were
Mm-hmm.
working. You were like saving for this, and if you've been working a lot of time, you have right to receive this rent for two
Mm-hmm.
years. But after that, you don't have anything. So the government recently approved a measure to give a small rent to people who don't have this subside anymore because they haven't did the 2 years. So yes, there are different
Mm-hmm.
measures to help people in this situation.
Excellent, excellent. How about in Italy, Salvatore? What types of programs does Italy have to help people who are below the poverty line?
Actually, in Italy also, in rest of Europe, there is a recession, and most of Italians think that the politicals don't work for country, and because politicals, most of politicals to steal money, and they don't work well for Italy. Most of
Mm.
Italians think to go to Rome and kill the political.
Oh, okay, so
Actually,
there's not a trust for the government.
yes, yes, teacher.
Oh, wow.
Because
Okay.
the taxes are very high, and
Mm-hmm.
most of people can't find a job.
Mm-hmm. So what happens to the people who are living below the poverty line? Do they get help from the church or from organizations, or do they just?
Yes, yes, there is in Italy we call it the organization from church that
Mm-hmm.
they give they think food or a bed for people that have nothing.
Okay. Okay. All right. Because that's a similar thing in the U.S. It's in English. It's called benevolence. Um, and it's when the church, oh, not the church, when the government doesn't really help, then a lot of churches or nonprofit organizations will set up benevolence committees to help people who are in need. So, Cornell, how about in Hungary?
Uh, in fact, concerning Hungary, situation is the same as in Europe, which Salvatore mentioned. So, unemployment situation is horrible in Hungary, and it is
Mm-hmm.
getting worse in the future. And there is a huge gap between wealthy and poverty people
Mm-hmm.
due to government instructions, and according to government forecast, unemployment support will be reduced uh, next year. So we are waiting
Mm-hmm.
for a better economical situation in Hungary, but
Mm-hmm.
it is the same as in Spain and everywhere
Uh-huh.
in Europe.
Okay. All right. Thank you. How about in Syria? What happens to the people who are living below the poverty line or the bread line? Do they get where do they get help, or what happens?
Well, there's plenty of humanitarian groups right now on the ground that are trying to help
Mm-hmm.
people that are living under the poverty line,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the current situation.
Yeah.
Most of them are global, are universal kind of groups or organizations, universal organizations. They try to provide sufficient food, as in monthly or every month or every 2 months or every 3 months, according to how poor the person is evaluated to be.
Okay.
So if he's really in a bad situation, if he's really below the poverty line, he'll get each month on a monthly basis as an amount of rice, like 15 kilograms and other stuff. Like it's just a basic like tea, lettuce, and such stuff. Just the basic things for living and surviving. And they try to provide blankets, like in winter. They try to provide the tents if someone has no shelter to live in. Yeah, so they are trying their best, but in the current situation, it's not easy.
Yeah, I've heard a little bit about what's going on in Syria. I'm sorry to hear that. So, yeah. And just out of curiosity, what is the background noise? Are you at home or is that in your office?
No, actually, I am at home.
Okay.
It's
I
my family.
I couldn't decide whether you were in the kitchen and people were there or whether you were in your office and people were talking behind you. So wasn't sure which one. So okay.
Sorry for that.
Yeah, no, it's not a problem. Not a problem at all. It's only a problem if you don't mute when you're not talking. So okay.
Holly, may I have
Yeah.
a question for Mulham? Mulham,
Awesome. Yes.
is there any war in Syria or not?
Yes.
Yeah, of course, there's internet access all over Syria. If you have there's internet access, there's water, there's electricity, there's everything, but not everyone is endangered. Some of them are suffering, but not everyone who's living here. Most people might have lost something, but we can prevail. We can survive.
Yes. You're survivors. Yes. Absolutely. All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to read the following statements about British society today compared to nearly 40 years ago. And let's decide whether they are true or false, and then we will read the article below to check your answers. So, Alexander, could you read the first one and tell me, just quickly give your opinion, is it true or false? So this is British society today compared to nearly 40 years ago.
Just a sec, please.
Okay. Okay. So
the gap between rich and poor people is greater.
What do you think? Is that true or false? So the gap, that's the
yeah, no, I know what it
okay.
is.
Okay. So do you think
yes, true.
True? Okay, you think it's true? Okay. And I'll just go ahead and ask everybody real quick what your opinion is, and we'll see. Araceli, would you say that's true or false?
I think it's true.
Okay. And Cornell? True or false? Oh, you've already written it down. True.
I was muted. Absolutely true.
Absolutely true. Okay. And Moham, what do you think? Is that true or false?
Yeah, it's true.
True.
Because of
And
materialism.
uh-huh. And Salvatore, do you think it's true or false?
It is true.
Okay. And Jong, do you think it's true or false?
Yes, I think it is true.
Okay, I think it's true for all of our countries, not just Britain. So, personally, let's go to number 2. And Araceli, could you read this one?
There are more average households, neither rich nor poor. I think it's true.
Okay. And Alexander, what do you think?
I forgot what household means.
A household is houses where whole families or groups of people are living. So it's basically where your family lives.
Yes, true.
True. Okay. And true. And Cornell, what would you say?
True.
Okay. And Moham?
True.
True. And Salvatore?
It's true, but I want to say that there are many people that live in the street and they don't have a house together.
Okay. All right.
Really.
And I see what you're saying. Yes. And Jong, what do you say? True or false?
Yeah, yeah, it's true.
Okay. All right. And number 3, I'm just going to go ahead and read this out loud real quick. There are more extremely poor people. Alexander, what would you say?
Yes, true.
True. Araceli?
False.
False. Okay. And Cornell?
True.
True. And Mulham?
False, of course.
False. Okay. And Salvatore?
True.
True. And Jong, what would you say? True or false?
I think it's false.
Okay. All right. And next one, fewer people live below the poverty line. Alexander, what would you say?
False.
False. Okay. And Araceli?
False.
Okay. And Cornell?
False.
False. And Moham?
True.
True. Okay. And Salvatore?
False.
False. And Jong?
It's false.
Okay. And we'll see which one is right, everyone or Moham. So, society is more segregated. Alexander, what would you say on that one?
Yeah, true.
True. And Araceli?
True.
Okay. Cornell?
True.
True. Moham?
False.
False. Okay. And Salvatore?
It's true.
True. Okay. And Jong?
It's true.
Okay. So there is a greater concentration of wealthy households in the outskirts of cities. Alexander, would you say that's true or false?
Yeah, true.
True. Okay. Araceli?
I think it's true.
Okay. Cornell?
False.
False. Okay. And Moham?
False, maybe.
False. Okay. And Salvatore?
False.
False. Okay. And Jong, do you think it's true or false?
It's true.
True. Okay. So let's go ahead and read this article and see if we who was correct and who was not. So the gap between rich and poor, widest in 40 years. So I believe that our first one is correct. So number 1, Jong, could you read that first paragraph
Yes.
out loud?
Britain is becoming a segregated society with the gap between rich and poor reaching its highest level for more than 40 years, a report showed today.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Salvatore, could you read the second one?
Yes. During the past 50 years, there are increase in the number of households living below the poverty line, with these households accounting for more than half of all families in areas of some cities, according to the Joseph Rowntree Foundation.
Okay, be careful, Salvatore. When you read this, it said, if I would not have been reading along, I would have heard 50 instead of 15. So remember, with 15, the stress is in the end, 15. Where with 50, the stress is in the beginning, 50, 15,
50. Okay, thank you.
15, 15, teen. So this is where you stress it right here. Okay, number 3, Mulham.
At the same time, the households in already wealthy areas have tended to become disproportionately wealthier, with many rich people now living in areas segregated from the rest of society.
Okay, segregated. Segregated.
Segregated.
Yeah. Okay, number 4, Cornell.
The group said the widening gap between rich and poor had led to a fall in the number of average households, which were classed as being neither rich nor poor, with these families gradually disappearing from London and the southeast.
All right. All right, Thali, can you read the next one?
Since 1970, levels of poverty and wealth in different areas of Britain have changed significantly, with the country now moving back towards levels of inequality last seen more than 40 years ago.
Okay, excellent. And Alexander, can you read the next?
While the number of people who are living in extreme poverty has fallen, the number of people living below the poverty line has increased, with more than 1 in 4 households classed as being so-called breadline poor in 2001.
Yeah. At the same time, the number of asset wealthy households rose dramatically between 1999 and 2003, with more than a fifth of families now falling into this category. Okay. And John, can you read number 8?
But the proportion of average households fell from around two-thirds of families in 1980 to just over half by 2000.
Okay, number 9, Salvatore.
The group that said the concentration of poor households in inner cities had increased, while wealthy households were becoming concentrated in the outskirts of major cities.
Okay, thank you. And Cornell. I mean, no, Moham. I'm sorry, Moham.
The report said poor rich and average households became less and less likely to live next door to one another between 1970 and 2000.
Okay, and Cornell next.
A second report by the group, also published today, said the public thought the gap between rich and poor was too large.
Okay, so number 12, Araceli.
But it added that people were more likely to think those on higher incomes were being overpaid than to think those on low incomes were being underpaid.
Okay, and number 13, Alexander.
The research also found that there was no clear consensus on how the issue of inequality should be tackled.
Okay. Author of the report, Michael Orton, said, there is evidence that a high level of inequality may cause real socioeconomic problems. There is widespread acceptance that some occupations should be paid more than others, but the gap between high and low paid occupations is far greater than people think it should be. Okay, so first of all, are there any words or phrases that you guys do not know?
13.
14. I was going to wonder if anybody's going to ask about that. Number 14, which word? Socio.
13.
13.
Sorry.
Yeah, because I was wondering if you're going to ask about tackled and clear
It
consensus.
should be tackled.
Okay,
Tackled.
tackled is slang actually, and if something is tackled, it is what would be a synonym? How the issue of inequality should be.
Tackling is ability in football.
Yes, it's in football.
I
Should
think
be
here it's like deal with, right?
to deal with. That's a good one. To deal with. Yeah. Yeah, and tackling has to do. It is a football idiom or a football term from at least American football. I don't know about British football or British or European football, but yeah, see how to deal with the inequality. Very good, Mulham. And also clear consensus. Does everybody know what that means?
Final conclusion, consensus, something like that, right?
Well, consensus is the goal of making a group. If you have a consensus in a group, everyone agrees with a decision. Everybody agrees with what needs to happen. So, like in this situation, the research also found that there's no clear consensus. So, you can say the research also found that there was no agreement on how the issue of inequality should be dealt with. So, no agreement. So consensus is when you if you try to reach a consensus, you're trying to make it so everybody understands. Everybody agrees. So, any other words or phrases?
Text 15, widespread. What does it mean?
If there's widespread acceptance, it means it's almost everybody in a general area is accepting something. So, for example, another way this is used is widespread popularity. So,
widespread means wide range.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks so much, Charlie.
You're welcome. Okay. Any other words or phrases? Okay. Let's check our answers. So, the gap between rich and poor is greater. We decided it was true, correct? However, there are more average households, neither rich nor poor. That one is false. There are more extremely poor people. That one is false. Fewer people live below the poverty line is false. Society is more segregated is true. And there is a greater concentration of wealthy households in the outskirts of cities, and that is true. Especially in the U.S., if you are wealthy, you do not live in the city. You usually live in a suburb, in a very wealthy suburb. So it must be the same in England. So All right. Is this the same in your countries? Alexander, is it the same situation in Russia?
Not everything.
Not everything is the same.
Yes, not everything. Society is more segregated. No, it falls for Russia.
It's false for Russia. Okay.
It depends of place, of course, but mostly it falls. Six true.
So
For the true, unfortunately.
Fewer people live below the poverty line. Okay.
No, sorry.
That's
Fewer,
false.
it's small.
So it's more people.
More people, yeah, more people.
And how about number 3?
False.
False. Okay.
There is, of course, those people, but not many.
Yeah, and I think that number 1 is true for all of our countries. So, how about in Spain?
Yes.
How about in Spain, Araceli? Is this pretty much the same as in Spain, or is it different?
No, I don't think the situation is the same in Britain or in Spain, because if you compare with 40 years ago, here in Spain the situation is much better. If you compare with 8 years ago, yes, the poverty levels have increased a lot and everything is worse. There is more inequality. But if you think of 40 years ago, I think maybe one is true, I don't know. But for example, I think there are, I don't know if I'm right, but I think there are more average households now in Spain than 40 years ago. And I don't think there are more extremely poor people. So it's, I think that in general, everyone has a better income. And also in the last 10 years, the situation has gone worse. But maybe in the 80s or 90s, the situation was much better. And this is why it still remains better than it was 40 years ago.
Okay. Cornell, how about in Hungary? Is this the same as Hungary, or do you think it's different?
Sorry, Ali, could you please repeat it, because
Yeah.
I had to leave my computer, and I have
Okay.
just
Come back. Okay.
yeah, come back.
How in Hungary, these answers right here, is it similar? Are the poor getting poorer and the rich getting richer? Are there more extreme? Is there?
Yeah, okay.
Are these?
Number one, true regarding Hungary. There are more average households. It is true. There are more extremely poor people. Slightly true. Fewer people live below the poverty line. It is false. Society is more segregated. It's true. And there is a greater concentration of wealthy households in the outskirts of city. It depends on if I have to decide true.
Okay. Yeah, and if you consider, Hungary had a completely different government 40 years ago too.
Yeah.
Yeah, a different type of government as well. How about in Syria, Mulham? I guess with your current crisis, this is a kind of different.
Yeah. Actually, the gap between, as in the first one, the gap between rich and poor people is a lot greater right now. So true, totally true. And there are more average household. No, the households in general are either poor or rich, most of them. And there are, of course, more extremely poor people, as in the third one. And in the fourth one, uh, no, false. More people are living below the poverty line. And the fifth one, society is more segregated, definitely, of course. Can't get more segregated than that. There's greater concentration of wealthy households and outskirts. I'm not sure about the last one.
Yeah.
I can't make my mind because um in these situations it's not that easy to. There's no standard. It's like a capricious situation. It just keeps on changing, fluctuating. There's nothing steady.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Salvatore, how about in Italy?
Compared 40 years ago in Italy, the first one is true, because the gap between rich and poor is greater right now. The second is false. The 30 there are yes, there are it's true, there are more extremely poor people in Italy in these years. The number 4 is false. Number 5 is true, society is more segregated. And number 6 I think is false.
Okay, so in Italy, if you're wealthy, you still live in the city. So, okay.
Yes.
All right. And how about in South Korea, Jong?
Okay. Compared to nearly 40 years ago, the number one is true because the rich becomes the richer. So, and number two is also true because yeah, the household is become bigger anyway. Yeah, and number three is false, and number four is true, and number five is false, and number six is true.
So number 5 is false. That's good.
Yes, I think the South Korea is also has some metropolitan area, so they live together in a big city or in a big metropolitan area. Yes.
In a metropolitan area, yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think is it easy to tell the difference between the rich and the poor in South Korea?
Oh, yes. Maybe we can figure out it with the building. Like actually, the richer people live in really big apartment, like 30 or 40 the, the floor apartment, but the others not. Where the rich people lives in some the quiet or very good village in the big city. Yeah, there's also another type.
Okay. Yeah. Because I didn't see it very much when I was there, but I wasn't there very long anyway, so just 2 years. So, all right. Well, everyone, I want to thank you for your participation. I hope you learned some new words and phrases and got a chance to practice these words. I will be teaching one more class if you have the time to join. Again, it will be on travel and holidays. So, Thank you again for your time and participation, and I hope to see you all in another class someday. Thank you.
Bye
Bye.
everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye
Thank you
bye.
very
Take
much.
Bye.
care.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.